Empress Alara Voss pressed her signet talon into the shimmering holoparchment, the treaty's binding seal flaring gold across the vaulted throne chamber. Whispers rippled through the assembled court like wind through brittle leaves, but she held her crest high, violet eyes sweeping the ranks of her counselors with unyielding command. The Vossian Imperium accepts this pact, she declared, her voice a resonant chime that silenced the murmurs. A human technocrat joins us as ceremonial armorer. Peace with the galactic core demands no less. The chamber's air thickened with the scent of ionized stone and Zerathi pheromones. Sharp notes of skepticism from the outer counselors, laced with the Chancellor's heavier tang of calculated dissent. Alara felt it coil around her, testing her resolve, but she had weighed the border's fragility. Raiders probing the Veil Nebula, provinces teetering on revolt. This human was the price for quiet legions and salvaged prestige. The great doors groaned open on gravlifts, admitting Mara Kest. The human strode forward unescorted, her compact frame clad in the core's utilitarian gray, a toolkit slung low on one hip. No finery, no deference beyond a precise nod to the throne, no hover of awe that lesser envoys betrayed. Court technicians flanked the central dais, their multi-jointed arms twitching in anticipation, ready to demonstrate the sacred harness rites. Mara halted before the relic harness, a lattice of iridescent Vossian alloy suspended in null field glow. One plate hung askew, its microfilaments frayed from centuries of ceremonial polish, a flaw no Zerathi artisan had mended without ritual incantation and replacement. With permission, Empress Mara said, her voice steady through the translation field, carrying the soft clip of human inflections. She extended a hand, palm up, awaiting the nod. Alara inclined her head once, sharply. Let them watch. The human scaled the dais without harness or aid, balancing on the narrow ledge with effortless poise. Her fingers, blunt furless tools, danced over the plate's seams, deploying a slender probe from her kit. Gasps echoed as she traced the filigree, eyes narrowing in focus. No chance, no offerings to the forged spirits, just precise sweeps, injecting a filament gel that knit the alloy live, sparks of reformation blooming under her touch. The court technicians leaned in, their crests flattening in unison, a Zerathi sign of stunned fixation. Impossible, one muttered, his voice modulator buzzing. The matrix requires plasma rebonding. She improvises? Mara didn't pause. With a multitasker's grace, she modulated the probe's field while scanning a secondary fracture on the adjacent plate, her free hand steadying the harness against oscillation. The repair sealed seamless, the plate humming back to harmonic purity. She descended, wiping residue on a cloth, and bowed again. Functional, Your Majesty. Tested to Imperium specs. Alara's mandibles clicked softly in appraisal. The human had exceeded polish duty, unraveling a weave that baffled her finest smiths. Whispers surged anew, but now threaded with unease. Council session convened without recess, the chamber's hollow displays flickering to life with border schematics. Faction leaders rose in turn, their pheromones clashing like storm fronts. A failed alliance spells ruin, intoned Lady Vexara of the Rim provinces, her crest pulsing crimson warning. Human whims could fracture our levies. The veil falls, prestige evaporates, your throne's legitimacy with it. Lord Thalor nodded, his voice a gravel rasp, the outer world's already murmur of dilution. One soft-fleshed armorer, and they questioned divine mandate. Alara absorbed it, talons drumming the throne arm. She had dismissed humans as fleeting opportunists, resilient vermin thriving on chaos, not architects of empires. Yet Mara's hands had woven alloy as if born to it, spotting patterns her technicians plodded through by code. Political calculus shifted, reject now, and fractures widened, embrace, and perhaps turn insult to bulwark. The stakes bind us tighter than fear, she replied, voice steel over silk. We integrate, or ignite. Chancellor Rimmer uncoiled from his dais, his bulk casting long shadow, pheromones flooding dominant, bitter oak and iron resolve. Empress, this mockery insults the crest. His gaze bored into Mara, who stood impassive at the chamber's edge. A human, polishing relics while our legions bleed. I withhold my provincial levies until this farce proves worth. Let the court witness competence, or concede the borders to raiders. Murmurs crested, crests flaring in support. Alara met his challenge, her own pheromones surging cool command, quelling the tide. Rimor's play was transparent. Succession optics. his influence as wedge. Yield here, and the treaty crumbled. Provinces peeled away in cascade. Press forward, risk his networks, sabotage, but fracture openly. Civil strife she could not afford. "Ere levies march, Chancellor," she commanded, rising to full height, robes whispering menace. The treaty stands. Tested at peril to the Imperium. Remor subsided with a hiss, but his eyes smoldered promise of shadowed maneuvers. Mara, silent through the exchange, now faced a cluster of courtiers as session broke. A technician sneered, extending a ceremonial gauntlet caked in mock grime. "Prove more than tricks, soft skin. Polish this. Properly." Laughter rippled, crests bobbing in condescension. The undercurrent of palace disdain bubbling raw. Humans as novelties, unfit for sacred steel. Mara took the gauntlet without flinch, her expression a mask of professional calm. "As you wish." She worked methodically, refusing aids, buffing joints, while murmuring specs under breath. Endurance unfazed by the hour's toll. When done, she presented it gleaming, alloys etched cleaner than ritual allowed. Satisfactory? The technician snatched it, probing for flaws. Crest wilting as none appeared. Mara met their stares level. No retort, no plea. Just unyielding formality. No grovel to sate Zerathi hierarchy. No crack under scorn. Elara observed from the throne dais, a cautious warmth threading her core. This human rebuffed insult not with fire, but steel poise, mirroring her own courtly blade. Respect stirred first fragile measure, not vermin, but potential peer. Yet the palace hummed darker now, servants' pheromones trailing suspicion in corridors, whispers of outsider taint slithering toward the borders. As night cycle dimmed the spires, Elara retreated to her stratagem, holomaps pulsing raid vectors. Mara would arm the honor guard at dawn, ceremonial, they claimed, but Elara sensed deeper utility. Remor's shadow loomed, provinces teetered. This alliance? Insult or salvation? The human's steady gaze lingered in memory, a quiet pivot in the game. In the armory antechamber, Mara unpacked her kit under glow lamps, ignoring the sidelong glares of Zerathi guards. One approached, crest low in feigned camaraderie. "You mend well, human, but court eats the unwary. Heed." Chancellor watches. Mara nodded, threading a calibration wire. Noted. "My role is the work. No probe for allies, just focus. Adaptability weaving through alien protocols like breath." The guard hesitated, pheromones shifting to puzzled regard. "You do not curry favor?" Work speaks. Simple human pragmatism. Elara, passing unseen through shadowed arches, caught the exchange. Her mandibles parted in rare amusement, cracks in propriety. Rimmer's web tightened, but this human's thread held firm. Borders quieted not by divine fiat alone, but perhaps by such unyielding hands. Council reconvened at cycle's turn, tensions coiling. Lady Vexara pressed again. Provinces demand proof. One repair buys no loyalty. Elara silenced her with a talon raise. Proof accumulates. Internally, reevaluation deepened. Humans endured scorn as Zerathi bore void storms, multitasked rites with ingenuity her ritualists envied. Mara had connected alloy flaws across domains. Pattern her savants wrote memorized. Remor loomed post-session, voice private thunder. "Withdraw her, Empress, or I rally the holds." "Advance her," Elara countered, strength uncracked. "Or fracture us both." He withdrew, venom trailing. Palace undercurrents swelled. Sabotaged relays whispered in vents. Anti-human graffiti scarring lower halls. Early fissures testing the treaty's weld. Mara, fitting a guard's harness in the yard, ignored a flung stone from shadows, her hand steady. Resilience incarnate. Elara watched from balcony, respect solidifying, partnership glimpsed. Not subjugation, but balance. The Imperium might endure through it, yet as raider probes flared on hollows, doubt gnawed. Insult. Or the shield to hold the veil. Empress Elara Voss watched the human envoy's fingers tremble on the ceremonial strap, the golden clasp glinting under the vaulted hull's relentless lumens. Protocol demanded distance. 10 paces between throne and petitioner. A chasm of etched obsidian floor that satisfied the treaty's ink but mocked the court's simmering pride. Mara Kest knelt precisely there, her plain cord tunic a deliberate affront amid the courtiers' iridescent robes, as she affixed the Vossian armorer's sigil to Elara's proffered gauntlet. The clasp snapped, too sharply. A faint hiss escaped. and the strap frayed before their eyes, threads unraveling like a traitor's vow. Gasps rippled through the assembly. Chancellor Rimor's crest frills flared in predatory anticipation. Public humiliation. The treaty's first offering, botched by alien hands. Aelara's mandibles clicked once, her grip tightening on the throne's arm. Expulsion now, or fracture the fragile accord before the Veil's raiders even blinked. But Mara did not falter. Her eyes narrowed, scanning the fray with a mechanic's precision, and in a blur of motion, she plucked a slender probe from her tunic's concealed pouch, not standard issue, but a jury-rigged filament twisted from what looked like comm wire and a shard of crystal. Loose weave, she murmured, voice steady through the translator bead, as if diagnosing a field engine mid-breach. Her fingers danced, threading the probe through the unraveling fibers, twisting it into a makeshift shuttle, binding the strap taut in seconds. The sigil gleamed whole again, stronger than before, as she presented the gauntlet back across the chasm. Silence crushed the hall. Aelara extended her claw-tipped hand, feeling the repair's unnatural resilience, human improvisation, defying Zerathi ritual's rigid perfection. Courtiers shifted, frill veins pulsing with unease. This was no ceremonial farce, but fieldcraft invading sacred rite. Chancellor Rimmer rose first, his voice a silken blade. Empress, this display reeks of subterfuge. The human tampered with the offering, covert motives masked as competence. The treaty binds us to form, not to primitives who dismantle our traditions mid-bow. Aelara's gaze pinned him, her compound eyes unblinking. Rimor's accusation hung like raider flares on the hollows, testing her resolve amid the Veil's fresh probes. Pride demanded punishment, politics, caution. The human had not merely fixed a flaw. She had foreseen it, adapted without tools or pause. Measured inspection, Alara decreed, her tone brooking no debate. Loyalty probe on the envoy, under armory auspices. No exile. We dissect intent, Chancellor, not discard utility. Rimor's frills twitched, a flicker of frustration beneath his propriety, but he bowed, the court murmuring assent. Aelara noted Mara's posture, unbowed, respectful, eyes meeting hers with quiet assessment rather than defiance. Trust's first fracture, mended by alien hands. Yet as the assembly dispersed, conservative courtiers clustered, invoking the circulating ordinance of Proxim, ancient edict capping interspecies approach at 5 spans in formal halls, lest contaminant proximities erode divine hierarchy. Legal grounds dissolve closer partnership, one intoned. A minor lord with Rimmer's scent on his robes. The human must retreat beyond armory thresholds, Empress, or the treaty invites doctrinal breach. Aelara's claws scraped the throne subtly, propriety's facade cracking under political calculus. Exile her now, and Rimor's whispers would claim the raider's probes as divine judgment. Shield her, and the court saw weakness. The Veil demanded unity, not purest fractures. In chamber's shadowed recess, as Mara was led to supervise quarters, not the outer spires, but the armory's fortified wing, Aelara issued the private decree. She remains, guarded, not banished. Her craft serves the gauntlet. Let it serve the Imperium. Mara paused at the archway, glancing back, not pleading, but acknowledging, a human nod bridging the span. Aelara felt the weight. Insult or shield? The human's resilience mirrored her own, enduring protocols chill without complaint, multitasking ritual and repair as if breathing. And the envoy arrived, unannounced, Kael'th of the neighboring Thalor Concord, his scaled form gliding through the antechamber on anti-grav suspensors, probes from his empire's fringe fleets still lighting the tactical holos. Empress boss, he purred, tail fork flicking toward the armory feeds. Your new armorer intrigues. A treaty sealed with frayed straps? The Veil stirs. Thalor offers mediation, if Vossian resolve wavers under primitive burdens. Aelara straightened, mandibles firm. Rimor hovered at her flank, eyes gleaming with opportunity. Expel the human, embrace Thalor's aid, consolidate conservative favor. But Mara's repair echoed, practical, unyielding. Resolve holds, envoy Kael'th. Resolve holds, envoy Kael'th. She replied, voice regal steel. The armorer binds what frays. Probes test borders, alliances steal them. State your Concord's true calculus. Kael'th's scales shimmered unease, his gaze darting to the armory door where Mara now worked under guard, already sketching efficiency mods to the gauntlet's power relays, her hands blurring across a borrowed slate. Humans endured, adapted. Zerathi planned with divine precision. Yet this one bridged crises mid-stride. Remor's frills flattened slightly, a rare tell of recalibration. As Kael'th circled honeyed terms, joint patrols masking territorial nibbles, Elara weighed the shift. The ordnance loomed, courtiers' murmurs, a tide eroding her decree. But Mara's presence anchored the hall's optics. Not humiliation, but competence unveiled. Mediation declined, Elara cut in. Thaler probes recede. Orvosian blades answer. Our alliance endures scrutiny. Yours invites it. The envoy recoiled fractionally. Suspensors humming retreat. Remor leaned close post-departure, voice low, a risk, Empress. The human draws predators, or repels them, Elara countered, her gaze lingering on the hollows. Mara's silhouette moved tirelessly in quarters, juggling strap diagnostics, treaty codex translations, even sketching Veil patrol patterns from public feeds. No fatigue, no boast. Mere work. Doubt gnawed less now. The human's humility masked depths, forging respect amid protocol's cracks. In the armory's glow, Mara tested the repaired strap anew, her pattern recognition linking Zerathi weave flaws to common field sabotage. Chancellor's hand? She set it aside, turning to the guards with a patient query on local alloys. One Zerathi sentry's frills perked, answering haltingly. Cultural chasm narrowing, one alloy spec at a time. Elara turned from the feeds, resolve hardening. Oversight, not expulsion. The choice sealed. Yet as Thalor's shadow lingered on the borders, the true test brewed. Could this partnership hold the Imperium whole? Mara's gloved fingers paused over the harness's central clasp, the Zerathi's iridescent alloy humming faintly under her touch. A vibration, too rhythmic, too precise for ornamental circuitry. She pried the seam with a micro-tool from her kit, breath steady despite the armory's stifling heat, and watched a cluster of pearl-sized nodes wink into view, their casings etched with palace forge marks. Micro-saboteurs, rigged to overload during the Empress's next public address, sparking a cascade failure that would blacken Elara's prestige like a felled banner. Not amateurs. Mara traced the node's power threads back through the harness's lattice, her mind mapping the design in layers. Initiator here, amplifier there, remote trigger masked as a status beacon, components sourced from restricted workshops. Third spire, if the alloy's micro-imprint held. Palace faction work, aimed to humiliate, not kill. Embarrass the Empress before the treaty court, paint the human alliance as brittle folly. She sealed the nodes in a containment field, pocketing them, and straightened. Time to report. In the antechamber, Elara stood before a holographic edifice of the palace schematics, her crest frills rigid with calculation. The feeds from Thaler's border skirmishes flickered at her periphery, but Mara's summons cut through. Oversight, not expulsion. The human had earned that much after the shield grid anomaly. Now this. Empress, Mara said, entering with the poise of one delivering routine maintenance, though her eyes held the quiet fire of certainty. She laid the harness on the inspection plinth, nodes exposed, sabotage, micro-rigs embedded to fail spectacularly mid-ceremony. Traced to third spire workshops, forge marks match restricted alloy batches. Elara's gaze sharpened, mandibles clicking once in restrained ire. She leaned in, scanning the nodes without touch, her innate Zerathi sensitivity to harmonics confirming the threat's subtlety. Third spire, Remor's domain. The Chancellor's conservative web tightened. But precedent bound her. No outsider breached those halls. Yet dismissal had failed once. Repetition invited ruin. You will inspect them. Full access. My seal. Mara blinked, masking surprise. A breach that would echo through court annals. Understood. I'll need schematics for the forges. Transmitted. Elara's voice held steel, but beneath it, a fracture in the formal veneer, a nod to utility, not mere ceremony. Confidence in the human's hands. Risky, but the Imperium's fractures demanded it. Mara moved through the third spire's shadowed vaults like a shadow threading silk. Endurance, her silent ally as Zerathi overseers gawked from alcoves. Hours blurred, cataloging forge logs while cross-referencing node alloys on her portable analyzer, multitasking diagnostics across 3 suspect smelters without pause. Pattern recognition clicked. Irregular heat signatures in one bay, masked as calibration drift. She dismantled the paneling, revealing an incendiary rig. Thermite weaves primed to ignite the armory's fuel reserves, Time to the harness failure. Not luck, methodical teardown tracing residue isotopes back to the same batch. With steady hands, she neutralized the rig. Coolant injectors improvised from sealant spares, creativity bridging the gap where Xerathi protocols demanded full evacuation. No blaze, no alarm, just precision. Whispers followed her exit. The soft skin. Sees what we miss. Ilara reviewed the incident logs from her throne days. The armory feeds replaying Mara's work in crisp detail. Initial dismissal. Foolish. The humans' feats accumulated. Grid stabilization. Now this layered sabotage unraveled without fanfare. Wary curiosity stirred, cracking the propriety of divine isolation. Vesper, she summoned her shadow operative, voice low. Discreet eyes on third spire leads, Remor's inner circle. Cross-check with forge manifests. No ripples, yet. Vesper's hologram nodded, vanishing. Alara's frills eased fractionally. Partnership's first yield. The grand audience hall thronged with court intrigue, crystal spires refracting light into prismatic warnings. Lord Calith, rival suitor from the Iron Crest houses, seized the floor during treaty deliberations, his armored form looming as he brandished a hollow replica of the sabotaged harness. Empress, these accidents stain our bloodlines. A human armorer invites chaos-proof the Alliance phrase our sacred optics, bind with tradition. My house offers the match you require. Preserve succession, exile the outsider. Murmurs swelled, conservatives nodding like rippling scales. Remor watched from the sidelines, his mandibles curved in subtle approval, maneuvering shadows to topple the treaty's social footing. Alara felt the pressure coil. Calith's claim tugged at hereditary threads, threatening the Imperium's facade. She rose, crest flaring in regal command. Lord Calith, your zeal honors tradition, yet peril demands adaptation. The saboteur's failure speaks. Vigilance transcends blood. Her gaze swept the hall, landing on Mara at the periphery, unassuming in her attaché robes. Public step time. Mara Kest, human technical attaché, is granted temporary rank of Forge Warden, full access to palace systems. Her hand preserved this throne's dignity. Gasps rippled, frills quivering in shock. A human, elevated? Remor's eyes narrowed to slits, fury veiled as pious concern. Calith recoiled. His campaign staggered. Whispers escalated to hisses. Precedent shattered. The Empress wagers on flesh blood. Mara accepted the honorific seal projected onto her wristband, pulse steady. No arrogance, just pragmatic gratitude. I serve the Alliance, Empress. With respect. Alara met her eyes. The connection personal now. Intrigue yielding to Alliance's quiet forge. Conservative factions seized, but the step anchored the treaty firmer. Remor's web strained. In the quiet of her private observatory later, Alara traced the harness's repaired filigree, Mara's containment field still humming faintly. The human's methodical unraveling of layered threats, nodes to rigs, traces to factions, revealed not brute force but a resilience born of relentless pattern weaving. Xerathi forged with ritual precision, humans, adapted, endured, innovated mid-stride. Curiosity deepened to calculation. This partnership might indeed hold the borders, yet, as surveillance pings lit her console, third spire lead circling Remor's aides, the test sharpened. Could the human's quiet competence pierce the Chancellor's veil before the court fractured? Mara, meanwhile, pored over armory manifests in her assigned alcove, fingers flying across hybrid interfaces, adapting Xerathi glyphs mid-scan while sipping rationed water. No fatigue. Just focus. A minor Xerathi technician hovered, mandibles twitching in awe.
You do not tire?
Our shifts end at cycle's peak. She glanced up, smile genuine. Habit keeps the work honest. Pack bonding sparked there, a bridge in shared vigilance. Court eyes multiplied, amazement threading through dismissal. The human proved no ceremonial prop. Methodical guardian, unwittingly exceptional. Alara watched from afar, resolve stealing further. The Imperium might yet bend without breaking. Explosions rocked the frontier garrison's outer walls, the thunderous cracks reverberating through the holographic council feed in Aelur's throne chamber. Raider skiffs, sleek, predatory craft from the Krellian fringes, swarmed the perimeter, their plasma lances carving molten scars into Xerathi battlements. Captain Vexer's voice cut through the static, urgent and frayed. Empress, they're breaching Sector 3. Numbers triple our projections. We hold. but protocol demands your command. Alara's crest flared subtly, the iridescent scales along her neck pulsing with restrained fury. The council holograms flickered before her, Chancellor Remor foremost, his multifaceted eyes narrowing in the projection, while Mara Kest stood at her side in the flesh, the human's posture steady amid the chamber's rising clamor. Protocol. That sacred chain now felt like a noose. Captain, Alara commanded, her voice a blade of imperial frost. Report casualties and enemy disposition. No retreat without my mark. Remor's hologram swelled forward, his mandibles clicking in disapproval. Your Radiance, this is no time for deviation. The treaty binds us to traditional formations, phalanxes and ether shields. Employing the humans, improvisations risks galactic scrutiny. The Krellians probe for weakness. Let them see our unyielding order. Mara's dark eyes flicked to the feed, her fingers already tracing schematics on the armorer's console beside the throne. Tools meant for ceremonial blades now repurposed for crisis. Alara noted the human's calm, the way she multitasked, scanning raid patterns, cross-referencing garrison inventories, murmuring calculations under her breath. No panic, no plea for permission, just work. The raiders are flanking with grav mines, Vexa reported, his image jolting as another blast shook his post. Shields at 30%. We can't reposition without exposing the core. Council murmurs erupted, elders decrying barbarian novelty, invoking ancient edicts. Remor seized it. Precisely, Empress. Human-led tactics breach propriety. The Imperium stands eternal through discipline, not this alien whimsy. Alara's gaze locked on Mara, weighing the Chancellor's barbs against the fraying feed. Survival trumped optics, at least this once. Propriety cracked, but did not shatter. Silence, Chancellor. The human is my sworn armorer, bound by treaty oath. Mara Kest, you have tactical discretion. Organize the defense. Hold the line. Mara nodded once, crisp and unhesitant, her voice threading into the comms with quiet authority. Understood, Your Radiance. Captain Vexer, reroute power from auxiliary bays to jury-rigged field emitters. I'll talk you through it. She patched directly into the garrison net, her hands a blur, diverting schematics, sketching overlays. Alara watched, transfixed, as the human wove engineering sorcery. Seal the east breach with overcharged cargo haulers as barricades. Link their fusion cores in series. Creates a daisy-chain plasma web. It'll fry their skiffs on approach. Vexor's hesitation crackled through. That. Untested. Attaché. Cores could overload. Will overload if they breach, Mara countered, patient steel in her tone. You handle infantry reposition. I'll monitor the chain from here. Move now. Raiders inbound in 90 seconds. The council feed split. One pane the chaotic garrison view. Soldiers scrambling under Mara's relayed orders. Alara leaned forward, her claws gripping the throne arms. Unprecedented. Delegating battlefield reins to an off-worlder, and a human at that. Yet necessity burned brighter than scandal. On the hollow, Zarathi troops hauled hulking haulers into position, their exoskeletons straining but obedient. Mara's voice guided relentlessly. Angle the emitters 15 degrees port, yes. Compensate for grab shear. Fire on my mark. Explosions bloomed as the first raider wave hit the improvised web. Skiffs vaporized in chained plasma arcs, debris raining like shattered stars. Raiders recoiled, their formation fracturing. Impossible, Remor hissed, his hologram quivering. A field engineer's parlor trick? This compromises our dignity, Empress. The court will see weakness in outsourcing valor. Alara's response coiled tight, regal poise veiling the thrill of vindication. Dignity preserved by victory, Chancellor. Watch. Mara pressed on, undaunted, juggling thermal scans predicting raider pivots, adapting mid-flow as a second wave probed weak points. Vexor. Vent coolant from the north turret. Flash freeze their landing pods. It'll buy 30 seconds for the flankers. Troops endured, pushing past fatigue markers that would have felled lesser shifts. Humans, Alara recalled from briefings, endured such marathons as routine. The garrison held, raiders withdrawing in disarray as reinforcements mobilized under Alara's prior dispatch. The chamber fell hushed, council holograms stunned, into silence. Rimmer's mandibles ground audibly. Mara exhaled, leaning back from the console, a faint sheen of sweat, the only sign of her hour's compressed ordeal. Line secured, Captain. Casualties minimal. Raiders routed. Vexer's salute beamed through. Your tactics saved us, attaché. By the void, how did you— Teamwork, Mara said simply, glancing to Alara with respectful deference. Your troops executed perfectly. Alara inclined her head, a rare warmth threading her core. The human spoke truth. Zerathi precision had anchored the improvisation, partnership, not dominance. Yet Rimmer's outrage boiled over. This is perfidy, battlefield authority to a treaty pet. The succession optics. His words choked off as alarms shrieked anew. Not from the frontier, but the palace corridors. Bialara's guards burst in. One staggering, violet ichor staining his carapace from a vibro dart wound. Assassin in the artisan wing, he gasped. Targeted the human's unit, meant for her. Gasps rippled. Remor's hologram feigned shock, but Alara caught the flicker in his eyes. Calculation, not surprise. Internal rot, fangs bared. Guards leveled weapons at Mara, protocol demanding detainee quarantine. Seize the off-worlder, an elder barked. She draws traitors like rot maggots. Mara stood unmoving, hands open. But Alara rose like a storm cresting. Her voice thundered, invoking the ancient prerogatives. Stand down. By the eternal crest, I claim emergency aegis. Mara Kest remains under my personal ward. Any who touch her answer to me alone. Outrage exploded. Council holograms fracturing with protests. Rimmer thundering of reckless favoritism. Dignity's death knell. Alara held her ground, crest fully flared, the weight of their stares a familiar blade. She had shielded the human publicly, politically. A gauntlet thrown. Image be damned. Survival demanded this ally. The wounded guard slumped against a pillar, his gaze lifting to Mara with dawning respect. You held the garrison. And now this. Zerathi resilience met human ingenuity. The Imperium endured. As order restored, Alara met Mara's eyes, a silent pact forming amid the chaos. Protocol was liability when raiders came, and the human at her side had proven the leader they needed. Remor's shadow loomed larger, but for the first time Alara glimpsed a path where bending fortified rather than broke. In the aftermath hush, Vexer's follow-up pinged. Reinforcements landed, garrison secure, thanks to her chains. Whispers spread, court eyes multiplying anew, dismissal yielding to whispers of guardian. Alara's resolve hardened. The human was no prop, but a fulcrum. The alliance held, frayed but unsevered. Yet as guards dragged the shadowed assassin, branded with conservative sigils. Before the throne, Rimmer's hologram lingered, mandibles twitching. The Chancellor's play had misfired, exposing his faction's desperation. Alara noted Mara's subtle scan of the intruder's gear, the human already piecing patterns others missed. Political brilliance met engineering acuity. Together they might repel all comers. Interrogate thoroughly, Alara ordered, her tone broking no dissent. And, Mara, your counsel on fortifying the artisan wing, we adapt. The human nodded, a quiet optimism in her stance. With your troops' precision, it'll be impenetrable. Council dissent simmered. But amazement threaded through, Zerathi elders exchanging glances, researching human dossiers mid-session via neural links. Rimor severed his feed abruptly, but the damage etched. The Empress had chosen survival over optics, humanity over isolation. The Imperium teetered, but with this partner, it might yet thrive. Alara's neural crown pulsed with the Spymaster's encrypted burst, shattering the Council's lingering murmurs like brittle crystal. Imperatrix, Shadow Fleet confirms. A cloaked freighter, Clitheran registry falsified, bearing relics from the Void Wars. Trajectory locks on our border hives, biotoxin payload, the Devourer strain. Projected yield, 3 million souls dissolved in hours. She straightened on the obsidian throne, her crest rigid against the chamber's chill, ignoring the Councillor's sudden sibilance. Chancellor Rimor's mandibles clicking in feigned outrage, the elders' frills flickering as they queried their implants for Devourer schematics. The human, Mara Kest, stood at her flank. Unarmored save for the ceremonial vambrace that masked her true edge, eyes already narrowing on the holographic intercept blooming in the war room's core. Signatures match, Mara said. Voice steady as hull plating, her fingers dancing over a portable slate linked to the display. No awe, no hesitation, just the quiet precision of someone who'd traced worse ghosts in forgotten colonies. Digital watermarks archaic, layered under 3 false protocols. Mechanical humps on the ventral bays scream aerosol dispersal rigs, It's not smuggling, it's seeding. Rima's frill flared crimson. Human conjecture? They require verification through Imperial channels. Time is the verifier, Chancellor. Ilara cut in, her voice a silken blade, gaze pinning him. The Devourer, a nightmare her ancestors had quarantined, its spores turning flesh to slurry across Zirathi hives. If it breached the borders, the treaty with humanity, already a festering wound in court optics, would shatter under blame. Her choice loomed, raw and immediate. Cling to protocol, or seize the grid. Mara stepped forward, unbidden, her slate projecting a web of Imperial navigation lattices, sacred webs of quantum relays, accessible only by divine decree. We interdict now. I splice a ghost trace into your grids, reroute the freighter into the nebulous killbox. High risk, their cloak might feedback and blind us, but it stops the drop cold. 90 minutes to Vector. The council erupted, elders' crests pulsing descent in neural symphonies. Ilara felt like thorns in her mind. Grid sanctity demands conclave ratification, one intoned. His implant feeds multiplying as they delved into human annals mid-breath, cross-referencing Mara's species with tales of endless vigor and lateral cunning. Rimmer leaned in, his voice a venomous purr. Imperatrix. This bends law to alien whim. The succession charter. Silence. Ilara rose, her armored robes whispering authority, the weight of millennia pressing her resolve. Protocol would convene for days, petitions stacking like corpses. Mass graves awaited. Pragmatism, once a whisper in her rule, now roared. Maracast, you have grid primacy. Spymaster feed her the relays. Council, observe, or vacate. Gasps rippled, frills blanching pale. Ramira's eyes narrowed to slits, but he held, severed feed forgotten in this fresh fracture. Mara nodded once, humble deference in her posture, and jacked her slate into the throne's nexus. Her hands blurred, multitasking feeds, grids, predictive sims, human endurance weaving through code like it was simple wiring. Ilara watched, a crack forming in her imperial shell. This soft-skinned outsider juggled complexities that would fray Zarathi nerves. The war room thrummed as the interdiction ignited. Hologrids flared empire-wide, Mara's trace slithering through sacred lanes like a shadow eel. Contact in 40, she murmured, eyes flicking between vectors and anomaly pings, adapting to Zarathi quantum quirks faster than any attaché should. Elders leaned closer, their implants whirring, queries spiking on human neural plasticity, amazement threading their shared net like forbidden silk. Then, motion, a flicker at the chamber's shadowed flank. A cloaked figure lunged from the service vents, vibrodagger humming blue death. Aimed not at the grids, but at Mara. No, past her, straight for Ilara's throat. Time fractured. Ilara's guards surged, too slow in ornate plate. The assassin twisted mid-leap, Zarathi's sleekness enhanced by illicit augments. But Mara was already there, uncoiling like a spring, vambrace snapping open to reveal concealed bracers. She intercepted, forearm blocking the blade in a shower of sparks, her free hand clamping the attacker's wrist with crushing precision. A pivot, a knee to the gut that folded the killer double, then a brutal elbow to the neck frill, cartilage crunching. The figure crumpled, dagger skittering across the floor. Mara stood over the body, breath even, scanning for seconds. No triumph in her eyes, just assessment.
Hired wet work. Trace X on the grip. Rimor shadow suppliers.
She knelt, disarming a suicide bead with deft fingers, then looked to Ilara. You're secure, Empress. The rune froze. Guards hauled the corpse. Elders' crests spasmed in shock. Neural links ablaze with human combat heuristics. Unrecorded baseline. Rimor recoiled, feigning horror, but his mandibles betrayed a twitch of calculation. Ilara's pulse thundered, not from fear but revelation. This human, her ceremonial armorer, had shielded her throne with lethal grace born of shadowed wars. Loyalty, not fealty. Partnership, not subjugation, her voice rang, ironclad. Chancellor Rimor, your command of border legions is revoked. Elders dissenting on this action. Stripped of vote until fealty is reaffirmed. Gasps swelled to uproar, crests flaring outrage. Marrakest, rise as legate armorer prime. Your voice binds in all interdictions. Imperial decree. Mara blinked, a flicker of human surprise. Humble, unassuming, before inclining her head. I serve the Imperium, Empress, grids holding, freighters veering into the nebula. Impact in 10. The hollow confirmed it, the cloaked hulk tumbling into plasma storms, biocrypts venting harmlessly to void. Cheers pierced the uproar. Elders exchanging awed glances, their research feeds now flooded with human dossiers. Endurance tales from void halls, pattern weaves in crisis. Rimmer's face twisted, upheaval coiling in his wake, but Alara felt the shift. Her rule, one solitary steel, now alloyed with this human's unyielding core. As the council fractured into whispers, Alara met Mara's gaze. A quiet bridge across the stars. The Imperium endured, not by divine isolation, but by daring to trust the extraordinary ordinary. Yet Rimor's shadow lingered, and greater tempests brewed. Alara's voice cut through the chamber like a blade through silk. Silence. The word alone quelled the murmurs, courtiers straightening as if pulled by invisible strings. Hollowed displays flickered to life above the obsidian table, casting stark blue light on faces etched with doubt. Rimor's foremost among them, his frilled crest twitching with barely veiled disdain. Empress, Admiral Kethra interjected, her armored shoulders gleaming under the vaulted dome. Scanners confirm it. The Krelvor coalition fleet has breached the outer nebula. 3 dreadnoughts, 20 cruisers, mobilizing on our fractured borders. They scent weakness from these delays. Her gaze flicked to Mara, the human standing resolute at Alara's flank, her plain corpse uniform a stark contrast to the jewel-encrusted robes. Alara's claws tightened on the arm of her throne chair, the weight of divine mandate pressing like a crown of thorns. Instability, the word gnawed at her. Rimor's whispers had sown it, painting her alliance with this off-worlder as heresy against Zerathi purity. Yet here stood Mara Kest, not as ornament, but anchor. We respond as one, Alara declared, her tone brooking no fracture. War Council convenes now. Strategic unity or the Imperium falls piecemeal. The chamber sealed with a resonant hum, projectors blooming into a tactical overlay, red icons swarming toward Vossian space like predatory shoals. Rimmer leaned forward, his voice a silken barb. Unity under what banner, Divine One? This human's ceremonial armor has not stemmed the tide. Invoke the old edicts, purge the anomaly, rally our bloodlines. Mara did not flinch. Alara watched her from the corner of her vision, the human's fingers already dancing across a portable console, eyes scanning data streams with a focus that bordered on trance. No protest, no plea, just work. Chancellor, Mara said evenly, her translated voice calm amid the rising tension. Their fleet's cohesion relies on quantum relays.
I can disrupt it.
Rimor's crest flared. With what, technician? Your primitive tools? Watch, Alara commanded, her pulse quickening despite herself. Trust. The word felt foreign, yet Mara's quiet competence had earned it through crises uncounted, re-rigging shield generators mid-battle, intuiting enemy patterns from scraps of chatter. Now, as the council locked eyes on the hollow, Mara moved, her hands blurred, one patching into the Imperium's net, the other querying coalition frequencies through a jury-rigged probe. Relays are entangled, she murmured, more to herself, voice threading multitasking precision. Predictable cascade. Rerouting their command signals through our ghost nodes, loop them into echo fire. Sweat beaded her brow, but her posture held steady, enduring the strain as equations spun in her mind, connecting relay harmonics to Vossian countermeasures aliens would plot by committee. Kethra's vents hissed in surprise. Impossible. Their encryption. The hollow shifted. Red icons stuttered. Cruisers veering in phantom disarray. Mara exhaled sharply. Done. Their strikes uncoordinated, dreadnoughts blind to flanks. We've bought ours. Silence crashed over the council. Rimor's mandibles clicked, his eyes narrowing at the human who had just dismantled a fleet's spine without firing a shot. Whispers erupted anew, not dissent, but awe. How? Kethra breathed, mandibles agape. No Zerathi neural link could multitask that weave so swiftly. Alara rose, her presence filling the chamber like gathering storm. Enough. She faced them, scales shimmering with imperial resolve, ignoring the undercurrent of backlash, whispers of succession tainted by alien taint. Rimmer's faction bristled. But she pressed on. Mara Kest has proven what divine right demands, results. By the edict of forged blades, I invoke partnership. She is no ceremonial shadow. Her skills bind our treaty, technical armorer elevated to strategic equal. Rimmer's voice rose, laced with feigned propriety. Divine One, the bloodlines. We'll adapt, Alara snapped, formality cracking like thin ice. Her gaze swept the room, politically brilliant yet raw with conviction. Or perish. Vote now. Ratify or fracture. Tension coiled as the coalition's crippled fleet reports flooded in. Strikes fizzling, borders holding. But then, a flicker at the chamber's edge. Alara sensed it first. A courtier's subtle shift. A glint from a shadowed alcove. Assassin's shimmer cloak, deployed mid-vote. Time fractured. A needle-thin device arced toward her throat. Toxin-laced and silent. Gasps erupted, but Mara was already moving. Pattern recognition flaring as she lunged. Not with brute force, but engineered grace. Her armorer's gauntlet interfaced mid-air, magnetic pulse snaring the projectile. It clattered to the floor, inert, emitter sparking betrayal. Tracer, Mara said, voice steady as she crushed it underfoot. Scanning for accomplices. Remorse sigil embedded, conspirators marked. Chaos bloomed. Guards swarmed, seizing 2 aides whose crests paled to ash. Rimmer surged to his feet, feigning outrage, but his eyes betrayed the fracture. His web exposed. Aelara's heart thundered, not from fear but revelation. Mara had seen the subtext, the social fracture aliens like her navigated by ritual alone. Secure them, she ordered, then turned to the stunned council. Witness. Loyalty forged in crisis. The vote came swift, hands rising in cascade. Kethra first, then wavering neutrals. Even some of Remor's block peeling away under evidence's weight. Ratified, the chamber herald intoned. Mara Kest, formal ally, political partner. Status granted. Courtiers bowed, murmurs shifting to nods of acceptance. Public feeds, patched live, carried the moment galaxy-wide, Vossian citizens watching a human save their empress, whispers turning to cheers in the plazas below. Aelara stepped to Mara's side, the human wiping residue from her gauntlet with quiet efficiency, no boast in her stance. Humble, ordinary by her lights, extraordinary by any measure. You have my command, Aelara said, voice low for her ears alone, propriety yielding to connection. Co-responsible, shared stewardship, of fleets, borders, future. Mara met her gaze, a small smile cracking her pragmatism. Partners then. Imperium endures. As the council dispersed to enact defenses, Aelara felt the shift. Not submission, but alliance. Rimmer's remnants slunk away. Shadow diminished. The fleet reports confirmed it. Coalition reeling, unity holding. She was born to rule, and learned that true power was